Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to review the 2018 comedy movie Ideal Home that stars Steve Coogan and Paul Rudd and is written and directed by Andrew Fleming, and it is supposedly based on a certain part in his life. And this film focuses on a gay couple played by Steve Coogan and Paul Rudd. Steve Coogan runs his own cookery show. He's like the gay Gordon Ramsay, I suppose, and it's in America, Santa Fe, I believe it is, something like that. And Paul Rudd is his producer, and they've been a couple for 10 years, and they live quite this lavish lifestyle, constantly arguing, but they're very much in love. And a little boy is thrust into their lives, who turns out to be Steve Coogan's grandson. As he explains in the movie, he had a fling with a woman in the 80s that resulted in a child, and his son is estranged, and he ends up having to look after his grandson because his son ends up in jail. And as you can imagine, this puts a cat amongst the pigeons at home, because neither of them have a clue what to do with a child. And this, I think, is he 12 years old? Something like that. And they've no idea what they're doing, so it leads to all sorts of hilarious results. And ultimately, as you can imagine, in a movie like this, they learn to care for this child and love this child, and it brings them closer together and all this good stuff that you get in a movie like this. Now, that's essentially the story. That's all you really need to know about this story. I have to say, guys, I absolutely bloody love this film. I thought it was fantastic. Really, really good. Wonderfully made. Really brilliantly written. Nicely directed. But the two leads, Steve Coogan and Paul Rudd, absolutely blew me away in this movie. They were just fantastic. They really committed to the roles. The chemistry between them was amazing, and you believed this relationship that they had, even though it was exaggerated in a lot of things that they did, because it's a comedy at the end of the day. And Steve Coogan played the extrovert perfectly, always putting on a show. And Paul Rudd is the more, even though he appears to be the more down-to-earth one, he's constantly suffering from panic attacks and stuff. He's actually very insecure. And they both nail these performances and knock it completely out of the park, and I absolutely applaud them for it. This film could have failed miserably if they had have got leads in that didn't commit to these parts, and these two absolutely fully did, and I'm delighted for the performances that they gave. And the young actor as well that played the grandson, let me just get his name right because I've got it here somewhere, Jake Gore. What a cracking little actor he was as well. He really, really did well in this movie, and this movie just worked. It was bloody funny, and I mean, it was hilariously funny at times, but always kind of stayed grounded in reality. But it had such a heart, this movie as well. At the core of this movie, it had so much heart that I found myself watching this film with a stupid grin on my face all the way through it. I could feel the grin on my face. I was constantly smiling while watching this film. It made you feel great while you're watching this film. It was a really nice romance between these two guys that get on each other's nerves massively, but you can see they're deeply in love at the same time, and they're learning to love and nurture for this boy. And there's a load of funny stuff at him. The fact that he's a world-renowned chef, and the only thing that they can get this kid to eat is Taco Bell, which was hilarious. Initially, they just try and buy him off by buying him Xboxes and all sorts of things. The child, the social worker that comes to the house, discovers their stash of porn. There's so much funny stuff that go on in this movie. It really, really does. The only main real criticism I can give this film is it's a tad predictable. It's kind of hit by numbers a little bit. What you kind of expect to happen does happen, but it's done in such a way that you don't really care, because it really is made with a lot of care and a lot of love with this movie. And I completely applaud the filmmakers here, and I implore you guys, because this film, nobody's talking about it from what I can see. And Paul Rudd's getting a lot of attention right now for his Ant-Man movie. But believe me, guys, the performance he gives in this deserves your attention, and this movie deserves your attention. So if you're looking for a really belting comedy, guys, that's going to make you feel good, it's going to make you laugh, I don't see how it can't impress, because it's got such charm about it, this movie, and it's made with such care and love, that I don't see how you're not going to like this movie, guys. So for me, definitely I will give this an 8.5 out of 10. I would say this is easily probably my favourite comedy of the year so far. It's a close run between this and Game Night, which was also brilliant, but I'm so pleased that I watched this movie, guys. I didn't expect it to be anything like as good as it was. Very funny, really well made, and highly recommended by me. So thank you very much for watching.